ठीक है। पार्टिसिपेंट्स वाला कहाँ आ रहा है? Today we take lecture on the thermal pollution. What is the thermal pollution? What are the causes of the thermal pollution? What are the impacts of the thermal pollution? What are the control of the thermal pollution? We will take in this lecture. What is the thermal pollution? What is the causes of the thermal pollution? What are the impacts of the thermal pollution? What are the control of the thermal pollution? Thermal pollution is the harmful increase in the water temperature in streams, rivers, lakes, or occasionally coastal ocean waters. Thermal pollution is a harmful increase in the water temperature in stream, river, lakes, or occasionally coastal ocean water. It is the degradation of the water quality by any process that changes about the ambient water temperature. A temperature increase as small as 1 or 2 Celsius can kill native fish, shellfish, and plants or drive them out in favor of the other species of the undesirable effects are there. An increase in the temperature of the 1 to 2 degrees Celsius can kill the fishes, shellfish, and plants or drive them out in favor of the other species. These are the undesirable effect of the thermal pollution. Thermal pollution is the increase in the temperature of the river, lakes, or the coastal ocean water. Thermal pollution is defined as the sudden increase or decrease in the temperature of a natural body of the water, which may be ocean, lake, river, or the pond. The sudden change in the water temperature is mainly due to the anthropogenic activity. For example, a power plant takes water from a source, a river, as a coolant, and then discharges the warm water back into the water body. The thermal pollution is a prominent type of the environmental pollution. It is the rise of the temperature from the source of the river or the coolant discharges from the water back. Hence, the thermal pollution is described as an unexpected change in the temperature of a natural water bodies such as lake, ocean, pond, or river by the human activity. By the human activity, the change in the temperature of the lake, ocean, pond, or river taken place. This is known as the thermal pollution. Thermal pollution is the changes of the temperature or the other habitat. It can have harmful effects on both the humans and the wildlife. Here are the some example of the thermal pollution. Power plant and industrial manufacture. These facilities use water as a coolant, which can be caused thermal pollution and pollutes the water as a thermal body. Releasing the cold water. Cold water can be released from the base of the reservoir into the warmer rivers, which can also cause the thermal pollution. Hence, the cause of the thermal pollution is the power plant and industrial manufacture. These facilities use the water as a coolant, which can cause the thermal pollution. Cold water can be released from the base of the reservoir into the warmer rivers, which can also cause the thermal pollution. The causes of the thermal pollution is shown here. Water as a cooling agent in the power, manufacturing, and the industrial plant. Soil erosion, runoff from the paved surface, natural causes, retention pond, and the domestic sewage. These are the causes of the thermal pollution. Water is a cooling agent in the power plant, manufacturing plant, and the industrial plant. Soil erosion. Due to the soil erosion, thermal pollution occurs. Runoff from the paved surfaces, natural causes, retention pond, and the domestic sewage. These are the causes of the thermal pollution. More detailed causes of the thermal pollution are shown here. Industrial process. From the power plant, thermal pollution occurs. From the manufacturing plant, the thermal pollution occurs. From the refineries, the thermal pollution occurs. From the urban turnoff, impervious surfaces, industrial effluents, urban turnoff, the thermal pollution occurs. From the deforestation and the land clearing, loss of the shade, erosion that causes the thermal pollution. Cooling ponds and the reservoirs, artificial lakes create the thermal pollution. Hence, these are the causes of the thermal pollution which have been explained here in the figure. Industrial process, urban runoff, deforestation, and the cooling points and the reservoirs. These are the thermal pollution caused here. These are the thermal pollution which have been shown here, which are the causes of the thermal pollution. Main causes are the industrial process, urban runoff, deforestation and land clearing, and the cooling ponds and the reservoirs. These are the causes of the thermal pollution. Industry use water. Water is heated in the industrial process, then returned to the river or lake. River or lake environment is now warmer. Dams built on rivers, water behind dam builds up, get deeper. Deeper water is the colder. Deeper water is the colder. These are the causes of the thermal pollution. Some of the prominent causes and sources of the thermal pollution can be shown as follows. Power, manufacturing, and industrial plant. These plants draw water from the nearby source as a coolant and then release warmer water back to the source. The soil erosion. Consistent soil erosion causes water bodies to rise, which makes them more exposed to the sunlight. These are the causes of the thermal pollution. Power plants. Power plants are one of the largest causes of the thermal pollution. Most of the electricity in the world is generated in the thermoelectric power plant. that use either fossil fuels or nuclear energy to create heat to make steam. These steam spins turbine which generate electricity. Power plants are hot places and require water to make steam, cool down machinery and turn the hot steam back into the liquid water. In open loop cooling system, the water that cools things down as observed and the heat is discharged back into the river or water source from which is taken place. The sudden surge of the water can drastically affect the aquatic habit. This is the region of the power plant. Power plant is the major resource of the thermal pollution. To create the steam turbines, we generate electricity. Power plants are the hot places and require water to make the steam and cool down machinery and turn the hot steam back into the liquid water. In open loop cooling system, the water that cooled things down has observed and the heat and is discharged back into the river or the water source from which it has taken. The sudden surge of the water can drastically affect the aquatic habitat. The figure shows a coal-fired power plant and water is withdrawn from the discharge into the nearby water visible near the plant. This is the region where the coal-fired power plant is shown here, and from there the thermal pollution is taking place nearby this river is polluted by this coal-fired power plant. Another region is the deforestation. Trees and plants prevent sunlight from the falling directly on the water body. With deforestation, these water bodies are directly exposed to the more sunlight, thus absorbing more heat and rising the temperature of the water body. Runoff from the paved surface during the summer seasons, urban pavement get quite heat, which creates warm runoff that goes into the sewer system and the water body, increasing their temperature. Natural causes, volcanic and the geothermal activity beneath the ocean and seas can release warm lava to rise the temperature of the water body. Lighting is another natural cause that can introduce heat into the oceans. This is the main reason of the thermal pollution is the deforestation. Trees and plants prevent the sunlight from falling directly on the water body. With the deforestation, these water bodies are directly exposed to the more sunlight, thus absorbing more heat and rising the temperature of the water body. Runoff from the paved surface during the summer seasons, urban pavement gets quite hot, which creates warm runoff that get into the sewer system and the body, increasing their temperature. Natural causes are there. Volcanoes, geothermal activity beneath an ocean seas can release warm lava to rise the thermal temperature of the water body. Lighting is another natural cause that can introduce heat into the oceans. Causes of the thermal pollution. Human action and natural regions both contribute to the thermal pollution. So the causes of thermal pollution are industrial plants. Water is used as a cooling agent. As previously stated, cool water is frequently used to the cool machinery. The water cools the machinery, but the mechanism heats the water and returns it into source. Thermal pollution arises as a result. Erosion of the soil. water bodies can rise as a result of the soil erosion. As a result, aquatic bodies are exposed to more sunshine, causing water temperature to change. Surface runoff from the paved area. Water temperature can be influenced by the runoff from the parking lots, roadways, and other surfaces. Temperatures might rise during the summer, resulting in warm water discharges. Thermal pollution can occur if runoff reaches sewer systems and the aquatic body. These are the causes of the thermal pollution. So, erosion of the soil, main cause, and the surface runoff from the paved area are the cause of the thermal pollution. Water temperature can be influenced by the runoff from the parking lot, roadways, and the other surfaces. Temperature might rise during the summer, resulting in the warm water discharge. Natural occurrences, thermal pollution is caused by the more than just humans. Excess heat in the body of the water can be caused by the natural factor such as geothermal vents, hot springs, and the volcano. In addition, lighting can cause heat to be released into the body of the water. Deforestation, human and water bodies can both benefit from the shade provided by the tree and the plants. When trees are cut down, the shade disappears and we are left with the direct sunlight shining on the water body. As a result, temperature of the water may rise. Harmful effect of the thermal pollution. Now we discuss about what are the different harmful effects of the thermal pollution. What are the different harmful effects of the thermal pollutions are there? Effects of the thermal pollution has been shown in the figure. Impact on the aquatic life. Aquatic life is the impacted ecosystem imbalance. That the ecosystem imbalance is there, and the another one is the water quality degradation. Water quality will be degraded. These are the effects of the thermal pollution. Impact on the aquatic life. The fishes will be affected. The aquatic life will be affected. Ecosystem imbalance will be there, and the water quality degradation will be due to the thermal pollution. Effects of the thermal pollution is shown here. Changes in the water temperature or changes the aquatic environment. Some species are not able to tolerate the temperature differences and the die off. Whole aquatic ecosystem is affected and change. Whole aquatic system is affected and change. These are the effects of the thermal pollution. These are the major effects of the thermal pollution. Thermal shock resulting in rise of the temperature of the water body. Depleted levels of the oxygen in the natural water. Contamination of the water, reduced solubility of oxygen in the deep water. Adverse effect on the water plants. Adverse effect on the water animals. Disturbance in the biological activity of the water animals food chain. Unfavorable effect of the water biodiversity. Unexpected migration of the water animals will be there. These are the major effects of the thermal pollution. Thermal shocks resulting in the rise in the temperature, depleted level of the oxygen in the natural water, contamination of the water, reduced solubility of oxygen, adverse effect on the water plant, adverse effect on the water animals, disturbance in the biological activity, unfavorable effect of the water diversity, unexpected migration of the water animal. Effects of the thermal pollution. While there are numerous negative effects of the marine ecosystem, essential aspects of the human life would be exist if the industry did not function as they do. Thermal pollution producing industry produce as a wide range of the items that human require. On the other hand, the impacts of the thermal pollution on ecosystem may be significant. The following are some of the consequences of the thermal pollution. Reduces the dissolved oxygen level. The temperature of the water rises as a result of the thermal pollution. Hence, the dissolved oxygen level is reduced because warm water holds less oxygen than the cold water. As a result, plant and animals may succumb to the suffocation. Warmer water temperature can also encourage algae growth on the water surface. This can also reduce the amount of the oxygen in the water. Hence, it reduces the dissolved oxygen level in the water. Hence, the water quality is degraded. These are the effects of the thermal pollution. These are the effects: decreased fish population and altered food web. Altered food web, sophisticated fish will be there. Low dissolved oxygen will be there in the aquatic system. These are the effects of the thermal pollution. Warm water effects will be there. Warm water effect will be there. The rise in temperature decreases the percentage of the oxygen dissolved in water because the gases are less soluble in the warm water. This could harm aquatic animals like amphibian, fish, and the other aquatic organisms. As gases are less soluble in the water liquids, the increased temperature often lowers the level of the dissolved oxygen and the water. The more acclimated species migrating in may have the edge over the organisms that are not used to the warmer temperature due to an enhanced metabolic rate. As a result, both old and new habitat food chains may be comprised several fish species. Avoid the coastal areas or the stream segment near a thermal discharge. Hence, the warm water effects will be seen due to the thermal pollution. The rise in the temperature decreases the percentage of the oxygen dissolved in the water because the gases are not soluble in the warm water. The food of the aquatic animal like the amphibian, fish, and other aquatic organisms. Gases are less soluble in the hotter liquid. The increased temperature often lowers the level of the dissolved oxygen and the water. The more acclimated species migrating in may have the edge over the organisms that are not used to the warmer temperature due to the enhanced metabolic rate. Biochemical effect will be there. Water warming rather than water cooling has been subject of the most research in terms of the biochemical effects. The long-term consequences of the nuclear station on the lakes after they have been removed are the focus on the most of this research. Overall, there is consensus that the thermal pollution causes rising water temperature. Short-term water temperatures rises in response to the electrical demands while the power plants are the operational, with more cooling water released during the winter months. Even after plants have been removed, water warming has been observed to remain in the system for the long duration, and the biochemical effects have been seen due to the thermal pollution. Ecological impacts. Most of the mammals can be harmed by the small temperature fluctuation. Plants, insects, amphibians can all die in a large number as a result of the thermal pollution of the some species, such as algae, however, benefit from the heat. Growth of the algae. Warmer water allows algae to flourish on the surface of water, and over the long-term growing algae can decrease oxygen level in the water. Surge in the toxin, constant flow of the high temperature water discharge from industry leads to an increase in toxin in the natural water body. These toxins may contain chemical or radiation that may have harmful effect on the aquatic organism. Ecological impact is there. Growth of the algae is there. Surge in the toxin are there. These are the effects of the thermal pollution. These are the effects of the thermal pollution. Biodiversity loss is there. Changes in temperature of the bodies lead to the migration of the some of the adapted surrounding, more class or limited research leading to death of the many of the organism. Ecological impact, a sudden thermal shock can result in the mass killing of the organism. Lead increase in the water temperature may increase activity level of the some organism, while higher increase in the water temperature may decrease the activity level of the sun. These are the impact of the thermal pollution, biodiversity loss, ecological impact. These are the impact of the thermal pollution. Reproductive system. As reproduction better happens with a certain range of temperature. Higher temperature can cause release of the immature eggs or can prevent normal development of the certain eggs of the aquatic animal. Metabolic rate, thermal pollution increases the metabolic rate of the organism. It may also disrupt the stability of the food chain and changes the composition of the species. These are the effects of the thermal pollution. Reproductive system changes, metabolic rates changes, and disrupt the stability of the food chain. Coral bleaching. Thermal pollution can cause coral to expel the algae living inside them and lose their color, turning completely white. This is called coral bleaching. Coral bleaching is taken place due to the thermal pollution. Migration. Thermal pollution can cause fish and amphibians to move away from the warm water to the more suitable location, which can disrupt the ecosystem for animals that remain. Hence, due to the thermal pollution, coral bleaching will be taken place. And the migration of the fish and amphibians will be taken place for the more suitable location, which can disrupt the ecosystem for the animals and remain. Thermopollution control measures. The following are the some of the thermopollution control measures. Storing hot water in cooling pond and allowing the water to cool before releasing it into any water body or back to the plant. Storing the hot water in the cooling ponds and allowing the water to cool before releasing it into the water body or back to the plant. Warm effluents can pass through a cooling tower, and after it leaves the condenser, the heat is dissipated into the air and the water can be discharged into the river or plumped back to the plant to be reused for cooling. These are the control measures of the thermal pollution. Create a storm facility as to absorb runoff or direct it into the groundwater, such as infiltration basin and the bioretention system. Dams can be designed such that instead of releasing cold water at the bottom of the reservoir, they release water from the top. Dams can be so designed that instead of releasing cold water at the bottom of the reservoir, they release water from the top. Potential usage of the thermal pollution. Through an environmental hazard, thermal pollution can be used to reap economic benefit. Some of the potential use of the thermal pollution can be seen as follow: industrial and the space heating. Industrial and space heating will be taken place. Soil warming, biological appellation, heating greenhouses. These are the potential use of the thermal pollution which have been shown. Industrial and space heating, soil warming, biological appellation, heating greenhouses. Hence, the thermal pollution presents a critical environment issue with the far-reaching consequences or the aquatic ecosystem, water quality, and the human well-being. Addressing this issue requires a combination of the regulatory measure, technological innovation, and the best managerial practices. By understanding the resources and impacts of the thermal pollution and implementing effective strategy for the mitigation, society can work towards protecting water resources and ensuring a healthier environment for the future generations. These are the conclusions for the thermal pollution.